Samson and Delilah, Part 1. A Child Set Apart. Good evening, dear listener. As you ease into this quiet moment, let your body rest, let your thoughts soften, and allow your breath to slow. Tonight, we travel far back in time to the land of Israel, when judges ruled and stories were passed down through firelight and silence. This is the story of Samson, but it doesn't begin with strength. It begins with a prayer and a promise. There was a woman whose name we don't even know. She could not have children. Year after year, she waited, hoped, wept. Then one day, an angel came to her, glowing, otherworldly, kind. The angel said, "You will have a son, but he must be different. He must be set apart from birth. No wine, no unclean food, and no razor shall touch his head, because this child would be a Nazirite, dedicated to God from the very beginning. And he would begin to save Israel from the Philistines, a people who ruled over them with harsh hands." So the woman believed, and the child was born, and she named him Samson. From his youth, he grew strong, not just in body, but in calling. There was something different about him, a power beneath the surface, a strength given, not earned. But strength alone doesn't make you wise, and Samson's story would be one of power, passion, and purpose, twisted together in both beauty and pain. Let that sit quietly with you. Sometimes the story begins in silence. Sometimes the ones chosen for great things are born in stillness, in faith, in waiting. Part 2. Strength and Struggle. Samson grows up tall, broad-shouldered, wild hair flowing down his back. The strength inside him isn't normal. It's not trained. It's not learned. It's gifted. One day, a lion attacks him on the road, but he tears it apart with his bare hands. Another time, he faces 1,000 men with only the jawbone of a donkey, and he wins. People whisper his name. Philistines fear it. Israelites wonder what he'll do next. But Samson, he's not a king. He's not a prophet. He's something else entirely. Strong in body, but restless in spirit. He begins to wander, to search, to fall in love, sometimes with the wrong people. And that's where trouble begins. One day he meets a woman named Delilah. Her name means delicate, and to Samson she is beautiful. He doesn't know what she hides behind her eyes. Delilah is promised silver by the Philistine rulers if she can uncover Samson's secret, the source of his strength. So she begins to ask, softly, sweetly, over and over again. And Samson, he plays games. He gives false answers. "Tie me with fresh ropes," he says. "Weave my hair into a loom." Each time she tries. Each time he breaks free. But Delilah doesn't stop. And Samson, he doesn't leave. Let that rest quietly in your thoughts. Even the strongest among us can be worn down, not by force, but by slow, repeated questions. Sometimes our weakness isn't a lack of strength, but too much trust in the wrong hands. Part 3. The Secret Revealed. The days pass, and Delilah keeps asking, "Tell me, Samson, how is it you are so strong?" Over and over, soft words, tired smiles, and finally, something in him gives. He tells her, not with drama, not with pride, just honesty, quiet, simple. "I have been set apart since birth. A razor has never touched my head. If my hair is cut, my strength will leave me. Delilah knows he's telling the truth. She feels it. So while Samson sleeps, his head on her lap, she calls for a man with a blade, and one by one his locks of hair fall. The strength doesn't roar out of him. It simply fades, like wind leaving a sail. Delilah whispers, "The Philistines are here." Samson wakes. He stands expecting to rise with power, as he always had. But it's gone, and they seize him, bind him, blind him. The man who once stood against armies is led away in chains. They bring him to a prison in Gaza, where the strong man grinds grain, alone. Let that truth sit quietly in you. Even the strongest fall, even the gifted can be fooled. But the story doesn't end here, because God is not finished. Even in failure, even in the dark. It's cold. The days are long. Samson is no longer a hero, no longer feared. He is blind, bound, alone. Each morning he is led to the millstone, and he walks in slow circles, grinding grain, hour after hour. The man who once shook the earth now walks the same path, over and over. But something is happening in the quiet, something small, something unseen. His hair begins to grow, not fast, not suddenly, but steadily. A sign not just of strength returning, but of God's mercy working in silence. Samson has time now to think, to remember, to pray. He doesn't ask to be feared again. He doesn't dream of glory. But deep within him, something stirs. Not pride, not revenge, but purpose. And far away, the Philistines are planning a celebration, a feast to honor their god, Dagon, a way to laugh at the man they once feared. Bring out Samson, they say, so we can be entertained. Let that settle with you now. Sometimes redemption doesn't rush in. Sometimes it grows slowly, like hair in the dark, like hope rising after shame. Even when we feel forgotten, God is still restoring, quietly, faithfully. Part 5. Strength returned, purpose fulfilled. The hall is full. Laughter bounces off stone walls. Drums beat. Cups clink. Thousands gather inside the temple of Dagon. Philistine rulers, crowds, voices rising in mockery. In the middle of it all, Samson, led in by a young servant, guided like a child. No sword, no roar, just silence. The people cheer. They laugh. They remember the man who once terrified them, now blind, now weak. But Samson speaks softly to the servant. "Take me to the pillars," he says. "Let me lean against them, so I can rest." The servant leads him, places his hands gently on the great stone columns that hold the roof above. Samson stands still, fingertips pressed to cold stone, eyes closed, and in his heart a final prayer. "Lord God, remember me. Please strengthen me one more time. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for purpose." He takes a breath, pushes against the pillars, not with rage, but with surrender. And slowly, the temple begins to tremble. The stone groans, cracks form. The roof caves in, the laughter stops, and silence falls again. Samson's final act brings down the temple, and in his death, he defeats more enemies than in his life. The blind man becomes a light. One last time. Let that settle in your heart. God can work through broken people, through weakness, through regret. Redemption doesn't always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like quiet courage at the end of a hard road. Samson's strength wasn't just in his arms. It was in the way he turned back when it mattered most. And you are never too far, never too lost. Sleep now, dear listener. You are loved, you are remembered, and your story still matters.